Hi everybody, this is Oksana, and in this video we're going to be making these fun earrings. And you can make a matching set by making a third one, and then it's basically a pendant because it's got a little bail up here and you can put a necklace through it. But what we did is we attached earring hooks to them to make them earrings. But you can make a third one of these and then you'll have a matching set of earrings and a pendant. So if you want to see how I made these, just keep watching. So the wire that we're going to be using is some 20 gauge square wire, and you can use round if you want as well, and you can size it up to like a 19 gauge or even an 18 gauge, and it'll be more sturdy, especially if you're making large earrings. And then for the thin connecting wire, I'm using some 24 gauge half round. Now if you wanted to use some round wire, you could use 26 or 28 gauge round wire and just do a weaving pattern for your bail with that. So for your base wires, for the 20 gauge square copper wires, you're going to want to cut 2 pieces of them. And the length is about 12 inches, but it depends on the shape and size of the earrings that you want to make. So for me, I'll show you the size of mine, but basically you want to look around your house for something that's a cool shape that you can bend the wire around. Now it could be a basic shape like a circle. But mine is, my ring mandrel actually has, I think it's a hexagon. Yep, it has a hexagonal shape here on the bottom of the ring mandrel, and I think it's really cool. So what I do, and you can actually do both wires at a time, is you want to just take the middle of your wire and you want to bend them around the shape that you're doing. So either a round shape, or if you found something like I found this hexagon that I think is quite interesting, you can go ahead and bend around that. Now once I get to the top here where my wires are meant to meet up, I'm just bringing them together here and I'm bending downwards. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but once I remove them, you'll be able to see. So it retains the hexagon shape, but then you want your wires to come together. And the reason that I had my wires come together on a flat edge here instead of like on a corner is because I want some space here to add my stone. So this is what it looks like. You can use your pliers to reinforce some of those bends. So to do that, I would just come in here with my pliers and I would make the bend a little sharper. So see how this bend here is more rounded and this one is now a little bit sharper because I did that. So now I'm going to do that with the other one. And then just putting them together like this. And if you feel like the shape changed at all on you, you can just put it around again, around whatever you shaped it, and just kind of press and fix anything that you think got bent out of shape. Okay, so here's my hexagon. So the next thing that you are going to want to do is hammer this to strengthen it, and you want to try not to hammer up here where the 2 wires come together, but rather hammer just the perimeter of your shape. And this is an iron block to hammer on, and this is a chasing hammer. It has a flat side and a rounded side. And then you can see it's getting a little bit flatter and wider. So I would just do that all the way around. I'm going to do this off camera so I can put it down because it's heavy to hold in the air. When you're doing it, you just want to put it down on the ground. So after you've hammered it all nice and flat, what you do is you take the other side, the rounded side of your chasing hammer, and this is optional, but it gives a little bit of texture, which I think is cool. So now that I've done that, hopefully you can tell there's some texture here on this little portion. So if you like the look of that, feel free to do that for your whole earrings. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up on both of them, and I'll be right back. So one thing that often happens when you're hammering is, as you can see here, it starts to kind of bend, like the wire was bending upwards for me, so it's no longer flat. So what you do to fix that is you just kind of gently use your hands and just fix the little edges so they kind of got like rounded. And I'm just making sure that they're straight and flat again, especially here at the top where the two wires meet. They really moved out of place there. And then once you do that, it'll be its normal shape again. And what you want to do now is you want to connect these two wires, and we're going to do that with our half round wire. So I'm just going to grab the end of my wire. It's connected to the spool, and with the little tail end, I'm just going to get the wrap started by wrapping it around a few times. It doesn't really matter how many, it's just to get it started, and then at the end we're gonna trim off this little tail end here, but leave it for now. And now I'm just gonna push that down to the beginning of where those two wires meet up. So what you want to do now is we're going to continue this. So I'm going to guide it with my right hand here, and then with my other hand I'm just turning the whole piece, and that guides the wire so that it stays the flat side down and the half rounded side up, and we're just kind of guiding it down. Now when it's tall enough to be shaped into like a little bail that we're going to attach the earring hook to, what you want to do is just trim off this wire, but leave yourself a nice long end of maybe about 3 inches at least. And then if you're wondering how tall this ended up being, it's just a smidge less than 1 inch. And what I like to do is I like to do one of them, and then at this stage I'll do the second earring, and I'll put them one on top of the other just to make sure that this portion here is exactly the same height. So there we go, I got them lined up so it's the same for both of them. That's just like a handy way to check. And now what you want to do is just trim. So this is the front because it's got the texture, so this is the back. So trim this little wire end here on the back, and then we're just going to press down on it and press on the whole thing like this. And what you want to do now is you want to bend it into like a bail type of shape. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to grab it with my pliers. This is the back, and I'm going to push it a little bit angled here towards the front, and then I'm going to shape it. So if you have something round that you want to shape it around, like some bail making pliers or like a pencil, something small and round, you can use that as well, or you can just do it by hand. Whatever you prefer, it's up to you, but the goal is to get it into this little shape here and in such a way that the little wrap meets up. See, like here, it began here, it ended, and it's just meeting up with itself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab these wire ends here, and we're going to just give them a little bit of a curve. and we're going to tuck them through onto the other side here, like that. Okay, and now we're going to just really pinch that closed, and we're going to take this little wire end and we're going to wrap it around. So here we're in the front again. It's just going to go around the front, and it's going to go to the back again. And now we're going to wrap it around these two wires. So let me straighten it out a little bit. It got kind of flipped over. There we go. So I'm just going to grab my pliers, and I'm going to help myself by guiding the wire with my pliers and just pulling on it with my pliers. So I'm wrapping it around just these two wires. Like this, and it's connected because we did this wrap that went all the way around. This isn't gonna like come open anymore. We connected it, so that was the purpose of that. And now the purpose of this is our cabochon is going to sit on top, and the length of this little wrap that you want to do depends on the size of the little cabochon stone that you want to use. Now I think the easiest is to use a round shaped stone. And in terms of size, nothing huge. The ones I'm using are probably like a medium size. Let me just press down on this a little bit. So I'll show you mine in a sec here. It's just a little plastic rhinestone, and it's nice because it's got this little texture on it. It's meant to look like a druzy, like crystal, which the texture makes it easy to trap this even easier than normal. But if you don't have this texture, you just have a normal round cabochon, that's totally fine too. It'll work just as well. But yeah, this is just a little plastic one. And what we're gonna do is it's gonna sit like this, and then these wires are gonna open up on the bottom, but you want this to go about halfway down the stone, because otherwise when you open these up, these two wires are going to open like all the way up, and you don't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish off this wire here. Just whatever it lets me do here in terms of the wraps. As many as I can get in there, I'll take. Okay, so that should be good, and that's about halfway down the stone. And the measurement of my stone, let me just grab my ruler here. It is like 14 millimeters. All right, so what you want to do is we're going to separate these wires a little bit here, like that. And we're going to put our stone on there. Make sure it's nice and centered, you know, not like that. Nice and centered, and then we're going to take these wires. You don't want to open them up too wide, just open them up just a little bit like this. And then we're going to bend them forward onto the stone like this, and now we're going to flip it back over so you can see the front of it. And you might need to adjust them because they might be, you know, we didn't see what they were looking like, but now that we can see them, you just want to adjust them so it looks nice and symmetrical for you. This one looks a little bit lower than the other one. So what I'm going to do in the back here is I'm going to just raise this a little bit. There we go, now they look symmetrical. And what you want to do here is we're just going to bend them. Just nice and tight, don't have any gaps, have the wire be right up against the stone. And then feed the wire through here. And just pull it through, nice and tight. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. We're just going to grab this wire, pull it through. Now I'm just pressing down on it. Want to make sure that it's nice and tight. Doesn't kind of open up and get loose because we don't want our stone to be loosened. And I'm just pulling on this wire and just wrapping it around. Alright, and now both of our wires are facing the back. My stone just moved a tiny bit, like the whole thing. That's fine, you can just like play around and fix it all later and make it even. But here on the back, we're just going to trim these little wire ends and leave them short, so that what you can do is just tuck this wire end downwards, but it's not so long that it's going to go like all the way through and be visible from the front, but it's also long enough that it's not sticking out the back, so it's just here on the edge basically. That's how we're going to hide away that wire end, is just putting it here on this edge. Okay, here's what it looks like from the back. Here's what it looks like from the front. So now if there's anything that you need to adjust, if your stone is in any way, you know, something needs to be a little more symmetrical, you can go ahead and play around with that. And then once you're happy with it, go ahead and just do this exact same thing. You can rewind the video and rewatch this part of securing the stone if you need to do the same exact thing on your other earring. So once you have finished both of your earrings, it's time to attach the earring hooks. These are the earring hooks that I'm using. They're titanium, so they're good because they're hypoallergenic. And if you wanted to make your own out of copper wire, you can do that. You would just bend your copper wire into this shape and hammer it. In some of my other earring videos, I made my own earring hooks. So one thing to note here is this particular style, the little round thing here at the bottom is going the wrong direction for us and for our particular earrings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it with my pliers and I'm just going to bend it so that it is going this way instead. And then you just want to open it up. Let me zoom in a little bit. So just open it up, grab an earring, slide it through, and just close it up. And there's lots of possibilities with these. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you can make this a round shape, you can make it a square or a rectangle or a triangle. Just make sure that this edge up here, you have space for your stone. So if you do a triangle, you know, have it go like this. so it's not if it's a little point at the top, then it's going to be hard to squeeze the stone in there. So just keep that in mind, and you can use smaller stones as well to make that work for different shapes and sizes. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.